The year is 2025. The Oval Office welcomes its first female occupant, President Kamala Harris. This historic moment marks a potential turning point for American politics. A wave of optimism, tinged with cautious hope, sweeps across the nation and the world. What would a Harris presidency mean for the United States? How would her policies reshape the social, economic, and political landscape? This essay delves into these questions, exploring the potential impact of a Harris administration on key policy areas and the challenges she might encounter along the way. Harris, known for her sharp intellect and commitment to social justice, brings a unique perspective to the presidency. Her background as a prosecutor and her experience as a senator and vice president have shaped her worldview and approach to governance. While the future remains uncertain, we can glean insights from her past political actions and stated priorities to speculate on the direction she might take as the leader of the free world. Her presidency could usher in a new era of progressive policies with a focus on addressing systemic inequalities and tackling pressing global challenges. However, she would also face the daunting task of navigating a deeply divided nation and a complex geopolitical landscape. The road ahead for a Harris administration promises to be both challenging and transformative. Social justice stands as a cornerstone of Harris's political identity. Her record as a prosecutor, while sometimes controversial, reflects a commitment to criminal justice reform. As president, she would likely prioritize policies aimed at reducing mass incarceration, addressing racial bias in the criminal justice system, and promoting police accountability. These efforts could include sentencing reform, increased funding for rehabilitation programs, and stricter oversight of law enforcement agencies.
Beyond criminal justice, Harris has consistently advocated for voting rights, LGBTQ+ equality, and women's rights. Her administration could see a renewed push for legislation protecting voting access, expanding LGBTQ+ protections, and ensuring pay equity and reproductive rights for women. These initiatives would likely face strong opposition from conservative lawmakers, setting the stage for fierce political battles. However, Harris's commitment to these issues suggests that she would be willing to expend significant political capital to advance them. Her success in this arena would depend on her ability to build coalitions, leverage public support, and navigate the complexities of the legislative process.
Climate change represents one of the most pressing challenges of our time, and Harris has vowed to make it a top priority of her presidency. She is a strong proponent of the Green New Deal, a sweeping legislative proposal aimed at transitioning the United States to a clean energy economy and addressing the impacts of climate change. Under her leadership, we could expect to see significant investments in renewable energy, stricter environmental regulations, and a renewed focus on international climate diplomacy.
Her administration could implement policies aimed at reducing carbon emissions, promoting energy efficiency, and investing in clean energy infrastructure. These efforts would likely involve a combination of executive actions, legislation, and international agreements. Harris has also spoken about the need to address environmental justice, ensuring that the benefits of climate action are equitably distributed and that marginalized communities are not disproportionately burdened by pollution and climate change impacts. However, enacting such ambitious climate policies would face significant hurdles, including opposition from the fossil fuel industry and Republican lawmakers. Harris would need to leverage the power of the presidency, build broad coalitions, and engage in skillful political maneuvering to overcome these obstacles and achieve meaningful progress on climate change.
Healthcare remains a contentious issue in American politics, and Harris has long been an advocate for expanding access to affordable healthcare. She supports a Medicare for All system, which would provide universal healthcare coverage through a government-run program. However, she has also expressed openness to more incremental reforms, such as expanding the Affordable Care Act and allowing people to buy into Medicare. Regardless of the specific approach, a Harris administration would likely prioritize making healthcare more affordable and accessible for all Americans.
This could involve measures to lower prescription drug costs, expand subsidies for health insurance, and increase funding for community health centers. Her administration could also focus on addressing racial and socio-economic disparities in the healthcare outcomes. However, healthcare reform remains a complex and politically charged issue. Any significant changes to the healthcare system would face stiff opposition from Republicans and some moderate Democrats, as well as from powerful interest groups like the insurance and pharmaceutical industries. Navigating these challenges would require careful political strategizing, public persuasion, and a willingness to compromise.
In the realm of foreign policy, Harris has signaled a shift from the America First approach of the previous administration towards a more multilateral and diplomacy-focused strategy. She has emphasized the importance of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law in U.S. foreign policy. Her administration could prioritize strengthening alliances, re-engaging with international institutions, and promoting human rights and democratic values abroad.
Harris has also spoken out strongly against authoritarianism and human rights abuses, suggesting that her administration would take a more assertive stance against countries with poor human rights records. This could involve targeted sanctions, diplomatic pressure, and support for human rights defenders. Her approach to immigration would likely be more humane and compassionate, with a focus on creating a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants and addressing the root causes of migration. However, navigating the complexities of the global stage and balancing competing interests would present significant challenges. Harris would need to contend with rising global powers, ongoing conflicts, and the threat of terrorism, all while rebuilding America's global standing and restoring faith in its leadership. While a Harris presidency holds the promise of significant progress on various fronts, it would also face formidable challenges. The deep political polarization that has gripped the United States in recent years would continue to pose a major obstacle to governing. Harris would need to find ways to bridge the partisan divide, build consensus, and unite a fractured nation. This would require exceptional leadership skills, a commitment to dialogue, and a willingness to compromise. Another major challenge would be navigating the post-pandemic economic recovery. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating impact on the US economy, leading to widespread job losses, business closures, and increased inequality. Harris would need to address these issues while also tackling long-standing economic challenges such as income inequality, stagnant wages, and the rising cost of living. This would require a combination of short-term stimulus measures and long-term structural reforms. The success of a Harris presidency would depend largely on her ability to navigate these challenges effectively. Her ability to unite the country, restore faith in government, and chart a course towards a more just and equitable society would determine her legacy as president. The road ahead is fraught with obstacles, but also with opportunities for transformative change.